Greetings to you. I am Minister Louis Farrakhan, National Representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the leader and teacher and guide of the Nation of Islam in America and wherever members of the Nation of Islam are throughout the world. I greet all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum. What a joy to be back through this videotape to the great city of London and the great nation of the United Kingdom. It's been 15 years, they tell me, since I've been blessed to speak to you by video. But this is very, very important, the subject matter that you have chosen for me to address. I want to thank Brother Student Minister Abdul Hakim Muhammad and the laborers and members of the Nation of Islam for joining together with the Rastafarian Movement UK, headed by Sister Stella, Sister Sheba, and Sugar Dread. Thank you for the unity that you have shown to come together on such an occasion, an Africa International Day of Action. The subject matter that you desired for me to address is reparations. What does the United Kingdom and Europe owe to us? And by us, we mean the sons and daughters of Africa that are in the Caribbean or from the Caribbean, the sons and daughters of Africa from the continent of Africa, and those from Africa, the sons and daughters of Africa in European capitals. How did you get to the United Kingdom and why did you come? How did you get to the capitals of Europe and why are you there? It is because we are the children of a former slave and colonial master that subjugated our ancestors to the vicious transatlantic slave trade that brought us into the Western Hemisphere. And those who remained in Africa came under the cruel tyranny of Europe in their enslavement in Africa by the British, the French, the Italians, the Germans, the Dutch, the Spanish, and the Portuguese. All of these nations have subjected us to tyranny, the loss of freedom, and they have ignored the cry of those of us in our pain for the principle of justice. What does the United Kingdom and Europe owe to those whom they formerly enslaved and colonized? Well, if the biblical law of justice is applied, a life for a life. Tens of millions of us have been destroyed in the Middle Passage of the transatlantic slave trade. Tens of millions of us have been destroyed on the African continent. If Europe were to pay for the lives of black and brown and red and yellow people who have lost their lives under colonialism and slavery, I don't think too many Europeans, white Europeans, would be left if that law were applied. And then when you think of what Europe gained from our enslavement. When I was last in London, they don't allow me to come there now, but when I was last there, what a beautiful capital city London was, London is, as the capital of the British Empire. What a beautiful city Paris is, and Amsterdam, and Berlin, and Rome, and Palermo. But all those capitals, all the stones in the streets, all the beautiful buildings that your artists and craftsmen have built, were built on the backs of those whom your ancestors enslaved and colonized. Do you think that the pendulum of justice that is swinging back and forward through time, do you think that you will have to pay for the evil that was done to so many? Of course, the Bible says God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, the same shall he also reap. What will Europe reap? What will the United Kingdom reap? What will America reap for what she has done? Well, don't you think it would be wise to pay attention to the law of justice? Because in our universe, and when I say our, I mean our universe. This is a universe constructed on the balance of justice. So any nation or civilization whose evil outweighs its good, it's only a matter of time before the force of justice and truth that undergirds this universe will move against that nation, that empire, that individual who exceeds the limits. That doesn't bode well for the present day world, for what it has earned. What do you owe? You owe us everything. But of course, you can't pay with all your lives. You can't pay with the ill-gotten wealth that you have and what you've stored away for the rainy day. But you must pay. So reparatory justice is the cry of all of the Caribbean. It's the cry of Africa. It's the cry of Asia. It's the cry of those who are the sons and daughters of those who paid with their lives and with their slave labor and their colonial labor. So Great Britain, you know that you gained more wealth from your colonies in the Caribbean than all your other colonies in the world combined. According to what our research has taught us, that you gained 4 million pounds from the Caribbean to 1 million pounds to the rest of the world. So we're proud to walk the streets that our ancestors paid for with sweat and blood and their lives. But we've come to a point now where there's a different spirit in our young people. There was a time when the police in England were called bobbies. And the bobbies never misused the people. They had a little stick, and with that stick, they were able to keep law and order. Oh, what a difference years make. And now the police are dressed in military garb with heavy weapons and all kinds of means of suppression of mass risings against government authority and the abuse of authority. So it's a different time now. But let me say to my beloved brothers and sisters, I don't think you have a permanent home in the United Kingdom or in European capitals. No, the plan of God is so different from your thoughts. You want to stay where you are. You want to make the governments where you are recognize what they owe you and treat you better. But they won't even apologize for the evil that they have poured upon our heads. So in Durban, South Africa, in 2001, it was very difficult for the European nations to even agree that the transatlantic slave trade was a crime against humanity. But why wasn't it a crime against humanity? It is because they never saw us as human beings. According to the Hamitic curse, which was brought on the world by certain rabbinical scholars, they said that we were the children of Ham, doomed to be hewers of wood and drawers of water for the Caucasian colonizers and slave masters. So since you never recognized us as human beings, then you could not do justice by us, because in your mind, whatever you treated us, however you treated us, it was all right. So when you came into the Caribbean and you brought Africans to the Caribbean and you slaughtered the Indians that were already there and you mixed your blood in with the Africans and the Indians, you set up a system where we could make you rich. You took the raw materials of the Caribbean and worked us. You came and you bought up thousands of hectares of land in the Caribbean, and then you took the African slaves or the peasants and you hitched us to the plow of your capitalistic ideas. So you took sugar, you took bananas, you took tobacco, you took rice, you took whatever we did or we had, and you made it make you rich and powerful. But we always wanted to be free. We always wanted to be independent. So when you granted us what you called independence, what did you leave in place? You left in place the cultural apparatus that made us willing slaves. You left your religion, you left your politics, you left your education, you left your jurisprudence in all your colonies, and you acculturated us into yourself. So the British slave masters and colonial masters made us into little Britons, little British. So we always wanted to come to London, come to England, and you allowed us to come. But those of us who had more education, what you call a tertiary education, we had nowhere in the Caribbean to practice what we were learning, so a brain drain took place. And that's why we're there in London, we're there in Paris, we're there in Rome, we're there in Europe, in Germany, in Amsterdam. But now you don't want us anymore. We're becoming a problem wherever we are. So now, brothers and sisters, the scripture comes into play that in that day, every man will find refuge under his own vine and fig tree. Well, now you have skills. You've given those skills to Europe. Now you have skills. You've taken the brain power of Africa, the Caribbean, and brought it to Europe again. Now the Caribbean is poor and marginalized. African nations are under neocolonialism. When the French left the French part of Africa that they colonized, they destroyed the ability of those that they left to use their resources to create the money that they were giving to France, to Spain, to Portugal, and to England. You destroyed the banana plantations. You destroyed the sugar plantations. You destroyed the tobacco. Yes, you did that so that we would not be able to take what we had to give you wealth, to turn that wealth back to us. And everywhere that we could feed ourselves, you came and you destroyed that. So we're not feeding ourselves anymore in the Caribbean. And as rich and powerful as African soil is to produce food, we're bringing food from England, food from Australia, food from Europe, food that was plucked out of the earth before it ever was allowed to ripen. So you ripen it with gas, you treat it with colors and carcinogens, and you feed it to our people. So we are dying in wholesale numbers because now there's a genocidal plan against us. Brothers and sisters, we have to separate from these that are the hands of destruction and just genocidal destruction of our future. You have no more future in Great Britain. because Great Britain is not as great as Great Britain once was. So if she can't produce jobs for her own unemployed, where is your future? But in the Caribbean, if you woke up to the vision of a united Caribbean, of a united Africa, not an Africa that's still colonized, not a Caribbean that is still colonized, but a united Caribbean, a united Africa, taking control of our own resources and then turning these resources, raw materials, into products that we supply for ourselves and sell through trade and commerce to develop our own economies. You're not thinking like that, but you're going to be forced to think like that. So what is the action that we should take? First of all, you have to recognize that the education that you've been given is not sufficient for you to free yourself from your former slave masters and colonial masters. You're going to have to develop an education that makes you understand the value of land, the value of the resources under your feet, the value of producing products to be sold internationally and to suffice the needs of your people. Some of you are thinking like that. But time and circumstance is gonna force us, all of us, to think like that. Have you noticed the clouds of war gathering over Europe now? Have you noticed that America is now putting sanctions on Russia, interfering with their energy production, 38% of which oil and gas comes to Europe? Only 2% of America's oil and gas comes to Europe. So putting sanctions on Russia forces Europe to say to Mr. Trump, oh, I'm sorry, I am not going to stop trading with Russia. What are you going to do now as the clouds of war thicken? Germany is the strongest European country right now, but soon it won't be so. We have to unite wherever we are. We have to start doing something for ourselves wherever we are. We've got to stop allowing the enemy to increase us in more division. My color and your color. My little island and your little island, my little nation in South America or in Central America or in Africa, pitted against others, using European languages to further our division. So you speak English, but you don't speak French. Or you speak French, but you don't speak Spanish. Or you speak Spanish, but you don't speak English. Yet these are the colonizers that have divided us through language, through culture, through religion. And by the way, the Catholic Church used to issue papal bulls that allowed them to come into our lands and take whatever we had and kill us if we resisted, and then make us Christians so that we could be a willing tool. You don't have the real Christianity, dear Christian family. You've got a man-made religion that was made by your oppressor under the name of white supremacy. Jesus was not a white man. So why are you worshiping him? You better wake up and wake up fast. What action should you take? Muslims, unite. Stop fighting with each other over this or that. You cannot afford that. The Holy Quran says to the Muslim community, hold fast to the covenant of Allah, or the right of the rope of Allah, and be not disunited. Allah is calling us to unite. He said, and remember Allah's favor to you when you were enemies, and he united our hearts, and we became brethren. But now we are on the brink of a pit of fire because of our division, our hatred, our envy, our jealousies with each other. To my own Muslim community in the UK or wherever you are, you have to settle your differences and come together as one. I know it's difficult because you have all of these things that you dislike about one another. But what is more important isn't your life and the success of us as a people preparing a future for our children. Isn't that more important than our petty dislikes? Of course it is. You're going to have to become economically strong where you are. And then soon you'll start migrating back to your islands and to your nations, bringing with you the knowledge that you have gained in Europe, the wisdom that you have gained through your years, and then unite the Caribbean, because everything that the Caribbean needs to become a world power is already under your foot. The only thing that's missing is a vision that will make you one Caribbean. It's better to be the head of something. It is better for you not to think of yourself as a little nation and be the tail of nothing, when in unity you could be the head of something. So I think I used up enough of the time. I'm asking you in this day of action to remember this. Europe is not going to give you reparations. But the repair for us is already here. In the Bible, it says, I will send my messenger from before my face, and he will prepare the way before me. And that messenger would have healing in his wings. Healing in his wings. What are the wings of a messenger of God? The wings of a messenger of God is knowledge. What you are suffering from is ignorance and the manipulation of our ignorance by the forces of power. You wouldn't have even had this meeting today. Why? Because somebody fears what Farrakhan is saying. What am I saying that you should be afraid of? You, England, should be afraid of the wrath of God. You should be afraid in a day and time like this that you have to reap what you have sown. Don't tell me you love your children and you won't do justice by those whom your fathers oppressed and enslaved. So, my beloved brothers and sisters, we must unite. We must set up an educational system that will free us from our former slave masters. You don't need their system of jurisprudence. You need to set up a law system of your own. You can do these things. You've done it for them. Now wake up and do it for yourself.
Wow. That was a very, very powerful message. Do you remember, Sister Claudia?
Yes, I do.
Praise be to Allah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. I greet you, my dear beloved brothers and sisters in the Imagination family. In the greeting words of peace, we say it in Arabic. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Welcome, 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 dear beloved family, to yet another episode of the Imagination Show. My name is Brother Leo Muhammad, and sitting alongside me is my beloved wife and friend, Sister Claudia Muhammad.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you all in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, beloved.
How are you all? Thank you once again for tuning in to another edition of the Imagination Show, and we must give all praises due to Allah for sparing us another week, blessing us to be here again. So all praises due to Allah.
Praises due
Must
to
be
Allah.
grateful.
Absolutely. Praise be
Yes,
to Allah.
praise be to Allah.
Thank you, dear family, for tuning in. Don't forget, at this time, call a friend, a relative, a loved one. Let them know that Imagination is right now live and direct on Zoom and also on YouTube. Dear family, don't forget, like, share, subscribe to the Imagination Show in order that we can continue to build and make our show something really phenomenal. Also, dear family, for those of you who wish to help us to grow, make a donation to the Imagination Show. Dear family, we really want to get moving today because we want to get through this particular subject matter, and we hope and pray that Allah will bless us to have a successful presentation of our subject matter this evening. And so, one second, without further ado, we're going to get right into it. Hope everybody is good. Good to see our brothers and sisters coming in from the various parts of the world. Don't forget to let us know where you are on the planet, because we are always very interested in seeing where different people are viewing the show from. Welcome to episode 197 of the Imagination Show. Today is Thursday, August the 28th. August is nearly finished, Sister Claudia. August the 28th, 2025. And our subject matter today, I didn't put the word carnival in there, but it really, the title of the show today is Carnival. Carnival, the annual police training day. Carnival, the annual police training day. For many of you who are outside of the United Kingdom, you may not know about Carnival, but it is something that takes place each and every year. And that's what we want to talk about today, because it's a very, very important part of the history of Black people in the UK. And for me personally, I feel an affinity to that particular history. And as we go on this evening, hopefully you will see why. But as I said, family, I pray that everybody is good, and I pray for the help and the guidance of Almighty God Allah in conducting this particular episode of our show this evening. Sister Claudia, let me know if there's anything that you want to touch on.
Well, I was just going to say, Ronald Thompson from Birmingham, England said, we better make use of the grace time God has given us to prepare before everything shuts down and panic is everywhere with no food in the supermarkets. And then to back up Marvin Vargas, Free Palestine, because the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan warned us, what you see happening over there, it's going to come over here. We think it doesn't relate to us because we're all here.
Yes.
No. And it's already started in America.
Absolutely.
The, National Guards.
Yep. National Guard going into various cities.
Absolutely.
I think Trump had them go into Washington initially. Now they're talking about placing the National Guard in Chicago. And the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan, for those of you who know, he has warned us about this for years. Years. And just to pick up on what Brother Ronald Thompson has stated, you know, family, and because the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan mentioned it, for those of us in Europe, for those of us right here in the UK, you know, we got to have some alternative plans. We can't think that this is going to be our permanent home because, as the minister said in the lecture that we just listened to, the war clouds are gathering over Europe. You see, so we can't just sit around thinking that everything is going to be all right.
And it's going to get better.
Yeah. We got to understand the time and what must be done, dear family.
Before you go into that, I'll just do a shout out to our sister Lenora Shepherd, assalamu alaikum, to 8th Electronics, greetings to you, to Stephen Brown, peace to you, and Count Music, greetings. Patrick Pat from South Africa, greetings to you. Darlene X, assalamu alaikum. And who else? Ronald Thompson, yes.
I like the message from Darlene X. She says, we must separate from Satan's children. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And also to Musa Azaka, greetings. And Marvin Vargas, greetings. And Blessing C, greetings to you. And Derek Daps, he has a question or a statement. Brother Leo, you often say that innovation and growth is good for the soul. With that being said, is it not time for Jamaican/Caribbean culture to elevate and leave behind the debauchery of Carnival?
Ooh. I mean, brother, you literally answered your own question in truth. You know what I mean? I couldn't have really put it any better than that. You know, because unfortunately, so much of what passes for our culture today is nothing of the sort.
That's right.
You know, we don't appreciate just the level of destruction that took place in the Caribbean and in North America to Black people, and the types of things that we have now adopted or picked up, and now we carry on and think that this is some integral part of our culture. No, man. Debauchery and nakedness and craziness and drunkenness, that's not Black culture. Please, come on, family. We got to wake up. You know, we've mixed truth with falsehood. And so, you know, Brother Derek, that's a very, very important point. Before we continue, go ahead, Sister Claudia.
Quickly, sorry for my disrespect. A shout out to our Zoom family. Thank you for tuning in on Zoom.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's continue.
Power presents a movie breakdown of Sinners, hosted by Brother Leo Muhammad of BBC Real McCoy fame. Looking at the true impact of this latest installment from writer, producer, and director Ryan Coogler and starring Michael B. Jordan, this powerful live and in-person breakdown takes place on Saturday, 6th of September 2025 at Tavistock Hall, High Street, Harlesden,
NW10 for NE.
Doors open 6 p.m. Movie breakdown starts 6:30 p.m. sharp. £5 donation on the door.
So we're just around the corner, dear family, from the movie breakdown of Sinners. Black people now making what's billed as horror films. Let's let's break it down and see what's hidden.
And you know, black people don't like horror films.
Yeah, you know, but and most people I speak to, a lot of people I've spoken to about the movie, you know, people, they seem to be very positive about the movie. A lot of people seem to really like the movie.
Okay.
And I would say from here that, you know, there are good and bad aspects to that movie, but we're going to be really breaking it down and looking in depth at what's really happening where the movie Sinners is concerned. And again, thinking about us as a people trying to come up from a particular degraded condition, it makes me wonder, why would we make a movie and put such a title on it? You know, like, surely we want to try to put something more positive about ourselves rather than, you know, we know that we're sinners. Do we need to be necessarily reminded in that way? But we're going to be going deeper into that when we do the breakdown on the 6th of September. That's just around the corner. Dear family, as far back as the 16th century, Black people have been targeted by the authorities in England. History records that Queen Elizabeth I ordered the deportation of Black people from England in 1596 and 1601. In 1596, she issued an open letter to London's mayor at the time, authorizing the merchant Caspar van Sinden to transport Black people to Spain and Portugal. The Queen expressed concern about the growing number of Black people in England who she felt were a burden on the realm and did not understand Christianity. We did not understand Christianity. She repeated her discontent and efforts to deport Black people in a proclamation in 1601.
So we've gone full circle.
Yeah, I just want us to think and appreciate. And I mean, you know, this is a very early time looking at England and Black people, but understand this, you know, that when the Romans came here, they said they found Black people. So I'm just like throwing that little caveat in there so that you understand that, you know, when people are quick to say to us, go back to where you come from, you know, the question really should be asked, where do you come from? Because you will find that we as a people are indigenous everywhere on the planet. We are the native people, even in Europe. You see, Elizabeth I, this caption says Elizabeth I expels Africans. Well, she didn't actually, because even though she wanted to expel, she wanted to deport, in the end, it didn't really happen. Maybe some people left, but she didn't manage to do the mass deportation that she was talking about. It says, in part, reacting to a food crisis and foreshadowing much future legislation, Queen Elizabeth I decreed that all Africans should be removed from the British realm. This shows that there was a significant Black presence in Britain at this time, or at that time, dear family. How many of you knew that we were in Britain as far back as then, and that they were trying at that time to deport Black people? Dear family, the Sus Law. How many of us have heard of the Sus Law? The Sus Law was Section 4 of the 1824 Vagrancy Act. There was a Vagrancy Act, and it was called Suspicion, or the Suspicious Persons Act. The Sus Law was Section 4 of the 1824 Vagrancy Act, which gave the police the so-called discretionary power to arrest anyone they suspected of loitering with intent to commit an arrestable offense. That was a law that was on the statutes books from 1824. Okay? All they had to do was suspect you, and you could be arrested. The law came from the time following the mass mobilization of soldiers after the Napoleonic Wars. It was revived and redeployed intensively from the 1960s onward against young Black men and boys in Britain. We could be arrested, charged, and convicted simply for walking down the street. And this is me talking, Leo Muhammad. I can bear witness because it happened to me twice. On two occasions in the 70s, I was framed by the police using sus. Let me tell you quickly what these charges were. In the first one, I was charged along with a couple of friends with attempted theft. Listen to the charge: attempted theft from persons or persons unknown. Okay? And what that meant was that I was taken to court, and the police said that they saw me attempt to steal from persons or persons unknown. No persons were brought to the court as witnesses. All it was the policeman's word against my word. I was convicted. No such thing happened. It was a lie. This was on the underground, on the tube, the underground system. The second occasion was that I and I think it was four others, we were in a van, but we were stopped by the police. And listen to the charge: being in possession of 14 offensive weapons with the intention to cause injury to persons or persons unknown. I mean, it's a long story, but we had loads of different bits and pieces of things in the van. None of them weapons per se. Like, for instance, my friend was a trainee electrician at the time. He had pieces of plastic coated copper wire. The copper wire you could take to the scrap merchant and get some money for the copper that was encased within this plastic. Those pieces of plastic coated copper wire, which were about that length, were deemed to be potential weapons. We had a couple of knives in the van. In those days, we were customizing vehicles, putting big wheels, larger wheels on the vehicle, and putting carpet all on the inside, big speakers and all this kind of stuff in this van that we had, our little crew. And those two knives were there because we were in the business of, in the process of cutting the carpet at the time, sticking it on the side of in the interior of the van, whatever. And there was a couple of other little bits and pieces. There was a piece of flexi metal that belonged to my friend's brother, who wasn't in the van at the time, but he was an older brother. And again, that was deemed to be a potential weapon. And we were charged with being in possession of 14 offensive weapons with the intention to cause injuries to persons or persons unknown. No persons were produced, no victims were produced. We were convicted in a court and sent to, I went to Borstal, one of my friends went to prison, another friend went to Borstal, and another one went to a detention center.
You missed out the knife there. Remember you said it.
Yeah, no, but I can't, we haven't got time to go into all the stories of how it really unfolded. But just suffice to say that this was the Vagrancy Act from 1824 that was revived specifically to criminalize Black youth in the 70s and 80s. This was the sus law. And if you can see here, you see there's a campaign against sus. It was a big thing in those days where a lot of Black groups and organizations were really, you know, fighting to have this law repealed, because it was clear that it was a tool, it was a weapon that was deployed specifically against Black people in order to criminalize Black people. And they were very successful actually in what they did, because so many of us were falsely accused and convicted for crimes that we did not commit. Dear family, I hope you are good and that you are following. Tonight we are talking about Carnival, the annual police training day. This is what we are dealing with this evening. So family, on May the 17th, 1959, Kelso Cochran, a 32-year-old Black Antiguan-born carpenter, was viciously attacked in Notting Hill and stabbed to death by racists. This murder became a significant catalyst and motivation behind a protest that would eventually become the Notting Hill Carnival. In 1958-59, white mob attacks against Black people in Notting Hill, in the Notting area, was commonplace. And because Black people would stick together and attempt to defend themselves by fighting back, the white media did then what the media does now, and they lied, mislabeling the attacks as race riots. See, because when you say a race riot, it makes it sound like two races, running amok and creating a riot situation in the streets. It wasn't like that, family. It was white mobs coming into what was then a growing black community and attacking black people, okay? And little pockets of us would try to stay alive, basically, by defending ourselves. But this was what was happening in the late 1950s, middle to late 1950s, against black people. I remember as a child coming to this country in 1967 and hearing some of the stories about the so-called teddy boys. This was a group, I don't know, what's a good sort of depiction of teddy boys? It was
Not
more,
Greece.
yeah, Grease. The movie Grease with John Travolta, that kind of look with the quiffs and whatever. That's how they dress, with the drain pipe trousers and the winkle picker shoes and all this kind of stuff. Apparently, these guys were putting coins between their knuckles and tying handkerchiefs around their hands and then punching black people in the face randomly and just creating mayhem. So these were the teddy boys, and this was the type of thing. Later on, we'd have to deal with the skinheads, and I mean, it's just been really non-stop aggression from the Caucasian people, who were not very welcoming when black people began coming into the UK en masse from the Caribbean, starting in 1948, after the Second World War, when Hitler had flattened various parts of London, and they didn't have the manpower and they didn't have the wherewithal, and they didn't want to rebuild the country because they're damn lazy. They sent for black people who were in their colonies in the Caribbean and elsewhere to come to the UK, that they claimed was the mother country to black people, come over here and help to rebuild the country. And so a lot of our people came. We came in 1948 on a ship named the Windrush. And when we arrived, we were lied to and told that the streets of London were paved with gold, and that there was all of this wonderful opportunities here for black people. But instead, what we found were signs that said no Irish, no blacks, no dogs. And we could hardly find a room to rent. And it was a very, very difficult time for our people. But nonetheless, we persevered and continued and pooled resources and came together and eventually bought a little place, a little house or a flat, and we shared. We were really like now how you saw the Eastern Europeans a little while ago, or how you saw the Asians before that. That's how we had to survive. But we were subject to a lot of hatred and racism, dear family. Even though we had only come to really help these people to rebuild their country, and we were the ones who brought color to the country. This was a very gray, smoggy, foggy, cold, damp place, dear brothers and sisters. But when black people arrived, we brought some real color and some real energy and some real vibrancy into this dark and dismal place. Despite the police being given many clues and even a name for the suspected killer of Kelso Cochrane, instead of investigation and prosecution, the police, government, and media seem more interested in covering up the crime. So to this day, that crime remains unsolved. In the meantime, some black people were organizing community events, starting with a small children's indoor festival, and more indoor events building up over several years to when an annual parade with steel pans finally took to the streets for the first time in 1965-66, and the Notting Hill Street Carnival was born. This is what it's coming out of, dear family. It's coming out of adversity, it's coming out of pain, it's coming out of blood, it's coming out of murder, it's coming out of death. And these black people, you know, look at the ingenuity of black people taking steel oil drums and making musical instruments out of it. Because again, you know, it's not necessarily well known, but you see, the African and his drum, we had something it's literally called a talking drum, and Africans could communicate across vast areas just using the drum. And the enemy, when he enslaved us, when he colonized us, when he destroyed us as a human reality, one of the first things that he did was to remove the drum and ban the drum, ban that type of communication by Africans. And so at a certain time, we had to begin to innovate and recreate different types of instruments. And this is where this particular steel pan instrument came from. Dear family, hope you are good. Ishmael Cisse, gotta thank you, dear family. I don't know what SEK, I don't know what your currency in where is
Sweden?
In Sweden is, but we thank you anyway for that beautiful donation. Thank you very much, dear family. Family, when you listen to these white people talking about the carnival and all the negativity, madness, and mayhem that goes with it in 2025, you could be forgiven for thinking that white people have played no role in the production of the terrible conditions that they now bitterly complain about. However, the facts of their involvement is recorded in the history of how Carnival came about and how it has changed over the years. Let's just listen to some of these white people and their vitriol when it comes to Carnival.
Well, let's get to my next guest. Her name is Isabel Oakeshott. She is a great friend of ours here at Talk, with being Talk's international editor. Hello, Isabel. How are you?
Good afternoon. Well, I'm not kind of feeling that I should be at the Notting Hill Carnival. I mean, it just never sounds any fun, really, does it? It's just a carnival of kind of carnage, really.
Well, I was about to say, Isabel, nothing screams carnival like boarding up shops and houses and then arresting 100 people and securing over 40 knives and 11 guns the day before the carnival, right?
So, I mean, just think about what he just said. 100 people were arrested the day before the carnival. So what has that got to do with carnival? Just because you went out and rounded up 100 black people and then you're claiming that they had these weapons and all the rest of it, whatever. But you see, what you got to understand is now what we're also dealing with as a people is the thought police. Because no crime was committed at Carnival by these 100 people that were arrested in this pre-arrest spree that the police went on. But that just goes to show you the kind of mentality. And of course, you know, they're giving this report and it's like a joke, really. But we're supposed to believe that all of these people who were arrested were guilty of something. I'm telling you, family, remember what I just told you? Twice I was framed. I mean, I was, you know, I wasn't, that's not the only 2 times that I've been arrested as a youngster growing up in this country. And I'm not for 1 minute trying to tell you that I was some kind of angel or, you know, I didn't get into some crazy stuff when I was younger. But there's a context to that as well. But my point is that, you know, you can't take what this media and what these police report, because when you understand their history and their history of lying and their history of framing black people, see, then you have to have a massive bag of salt when you're listening to any of their tales.
Just not really my idea of a great day out or a great weekend out. I've long thought that carnival, so-called carnival, is past its time, and I just think probably we should be looking at other forms of entertainment at this point.
Well, I mean, it's a concern, isn't it? Because I think Sunday was when we saw this 140 arrests taking place, and this is dubbed Family Day of all days.
So again, on the Sunday, they say they arrested, because it's over 2 days, the Sunday bank holiday weekend, Sunday and the bank holiday Monday. They said they arrested over 140 on the Sunday. And these two are mocking because, oh, that's so-called family day. That's the day, the Sunday is the day when there are more children and families and so on and so forth. Whereas the Monday is a more kind of raucous thing with, adults, to use that terminology. But the point is that, again, you arrest 140 people, but see, family, again, you got to understand the way in which the carnival is policed. That's why it's called the annual police training day. This is a day. This is a weekend when the police are absolutely geared up to go out and arrest black people. They may scrape up a couple of white ones along the way as well, but generally, the carnival being identified as something emanating from the black community, that's the targeted group. Okay. So understand that when you go and you have a mission, you see, to police these people aggressively, don't be surprised if you end up with 140 arrests. I'll tell you a little story in a while about, incident that we witnessed on the Monday of the carnival, because we were there. I was there. We went down there, myself and some of the FOI, some of the members of the Nation of Islam. We went to the carnival. We normally go each year. We have a particular reason why we go. And again, we'll go into that a little bit later. Let's listen to some more of the propaganda.
For the public, where we saw 105 people arrested at the event and 35 on the approaches, with offences including drugs, weapons, and even
35 people were arrested on the approaches. Got to listen to what they're saying. On the approaches to the carnival. What are you arresting people for? Is this a police state? And I mean, again, I'm not saying that some of our people are not acting crazy and foolish, most definitely. But again, you have to contextualize everything around this carnival and what's really going on, and how the whole thing is now a training ground for the police to practice their skills.
arrested for assaults on police officers, with one officer's hand being severely injured. I mean,
so you remember, this is 35, I think you said the number, 35 police were 35 people were arrested for assaulting police. Again, I can bear witness myself as a youngster, the amount of times in the past where the police have attacked me and my friends, or attacked black people, and then we get charged for assaulting them when they are the actual attackers, they are the aggressors. But in the process of attacking a child or one of us when we were younger, and they get a punch on the nose or they get their foot stamped or something like that, all of a sudden they are the injured party. They become the victim, you see? It's never the other way around. It's never them assaulting black people. It's always black people assaulting them. You got to understand the way the process works.
So, Brother Ronald Thompson said, what about football matches?
I mean, honestly, I mean, this country is notorious, for violent football thuggery and vandalism. I mean, white people, okay? And this will happen every weekend, okay, where hundreds of thousands of them come out, and then the two teams, the so-called fans of the two teams, have to go to war together, and they smash up pubs and they do all kinds of stuff. I mean, this is the reality, dear family, but you never hear them talking about it in that manner, you see? But all of a sudden, Notting Hill becomes hell, according to them.
as you say, it's a carnival of carnage rather than a carnival of celebration.
Yeah, and each and every year there are so many problems, and it does seem this year as if the authorities are a little bit more on top of it. They seem to be preempting trouble. I think they've been using some new technology to try to sort of pick off and identify the known troublemakers. And I suppose that if this year's event passes with no actual stabbings and murders, like serious stabbings and anyone actually losing their life, well, that would be quite a victory for the Notting Hill Carnival. Every year, my heart sort of sinks as this thing comes around. And looking at aerial footage of it yesterday, I just thought it just doesn't look any fun. It's so unbelievably overcrowded, so dirty, just fundamentally dangerous. I'm not really sure why anyone goes.
Well, Alex Wilson, Assembly Member for Reform UK in the London Assembly, was talking about the serious threat of crush. There's, as you say, narrow streets where you've got over 1 million people descending on Notting Hill. I mean, this is why he would argue, and I think Reform's position is, move it at the very least to Hyde Park, make it a ticketed event, treat it like a Glastonbury essentially, where the money will be able to then pay for the security and help with any clear up and avoid the mass littering, urination on the streets, crime, as you say, vandalism on houses and shops that takes place that costs you and I as taxpayers to have to sort that out, especially when coppers from across the country are being drafted out of their natural communities to have to come down to London, meaning the streets of other places are being left more unsafe.
Drafted out of their natural places to have to come and police these black people. Yeah, very interesting, dear family. Hope everybody is good. Now, some of what these women, these next women, there's another video coming up. Some of what these women speak is true. Even the two that just went in the other video, some of what they say is true. We're not, I'm not even here, to be honest with you, trying to defend Carnival, because as our brother said earlier on, isn't it time? Is it Derek?
Yeah.
What did Derek say initially? He said, Brother Leo, you often say that innovation and growth is good for the soul. With that being said, is it not time for Jamaican stroke Caribbean culture to elevate and leave behind the debauchery of Carnival? I agree 100%. See, so please don't think that I'm here defending Carnival as such, but what I'm really criticizing is the hypocrisy of these white people talking about it like they had no involvement in it. And as I said, these women, some of what they say is true, but at the same time, the scapegoating of the Notting Hill Carnival, see, making that like the bogey thing that everybody should focus on, and the many black people who still attend as the root of all of the crime and lawlessness in the UK is typical white media spin to pretend that misogyny, rape, murder, child abductions, pedophilia, theft, drunkenness, street fighting, road rage, police brutality, and a prison system full to the point of bursting. I'm describing to you London. I'm describing to you elements of the UK prison industrial complex, okay? Because this is what it's like. This is what it's full of in this country. And mostly black people play a small part in all of this that we're describing here, okay? This is the reality. Misogyny, rape, murder, child abductions, pedophilia, theft, drunkenness, street fighting, road rage, police brutality, and the prison system full to the point of bursting is not endemic. This is what they're trying to, pretend that this is not endemic to this country and this society, and very much part and parcel of white British culture. That's what it is. It's endemic to white British culture, dear family.
This story that we're going to talk about really affirms why you should have left London, why you should have escaped the hellhole that Sadiq Khan has created for us. I know we actually basically used to be neighbours. We used to live kind of almost across the road from each other when we were living in London. Now you're off in the leafy parts of the country. Notting Hill Carnival this weekend. Are you happy to be out of London for that?
Yeah, do you know, I don't go. I don't exactly make it a habit to go because I don't really fancy having sort of drugs smoked all over me and be stabbed and things like that, or get squashed in a clamour. And it's not really my scene. I mean, saying that, actually, if it was just all about the music and the food, I'd be the first in the queue. But it's just become a sort of carnival of violence, as far as I can tell. Largely because they know they can get away with it. They know that it's policed very differently to other.
They know they can get away with it. We know, black people know that we can get away with violence. Really? Really? We're just maniacal, violent people. You know, we're just violent for the sake of being violent. Really? See, but again, if you listen carefully to the language, it's so stereotypical, it's so racist, it's so much about labeling us as this, like I said, maniacal group of people who we just can't help but just be violent for the sake of being violent. No, well, I'm telling you, family, whatever violence you see unfolding at the carnival and in other settings, there's a context to it, and there's a reason why our people are in the terrible condition that we're in, and why so many of our youngsters today are stabbing each other and doing the things that they're doing. And it's not isolated to the Black community, it's instigated from the white community, it's instigated from a system that has dehumanized the people to the point where many of the people have lost the knowledge of self, as we're taught in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and living the life of a beast. We have become like those who have been our teachers for the last 400 years, you see? And this is the context in which these things have to be seen. Go ahead.
So our brother Ronald Thompson says, I agree with the carnival has done its time. And Nighty Night says, white supremacy media. And Bear says, what was that blonde woman smoking before the interview?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Praise be to
events. They know that there's a very soft approach to things like carrying a weapon. I mean, they come up with this brilliant idea, don't they?
There's a very, very soft approach to things like carrying a weapon. When some of us are getting framed and put in prison for not even having a weapon, but being lied on, like these brothers and sisters in America who have got an afro comb in their hand and they get shot down for having a gun, or driving while black and you end up dead. I mean, you know, you see me, I can't take these hypocrites in their pronouncements on media that goes out to the masses and around the world, and people listen to this stuff and think that there's you know, like I said, there's some truth, we'll get to that, but listen to a lot of this vile vomit about our people and think that, you know, these people are speaking truth. Look at the caption here, lawless Britain. Yeah, but who's made it lawless? Who are the lawless ones? Who's gone all around the world creating mayhem in other people's countries? You know, should Notting Hill Carnival be banned?
Knife arches everywhere and then no one walks through them. What is the point? People have been saying for years that it's unsuitable to.
So she's talking about knife arches, that they got these metal detector things that they set up at various parts, entrances to the so-called carnival, that they require everybody to go through. I don't know when or how this came about as some type of law. To me, it sounds to me like it's something voluntary, whether you want to go through that or not. But what the police are doing now, they set these things up and they're looking to see whoever turns back or don't go through it, then those people are immediately confronted, those people are searched, those people are, you know, put through the grill in terms of having to give up their details and so on and so forth. But I'll tell you this, when we came along, the FOI, you know, it was evident that they expected us to walk through. We never walked through no arch. We went around it. And then the policeman came and stopped us and said, well, you know, you have to go through. We said, we're not going through that. We don't carry weapons. We're members of the Nation of Islam. You know very well who we are and how we move. And he just moved out of our way and we went about our business. You see? But again, I've got to say to my family, see, this dress code that we've been given by Master Farad Muhammad, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, when we carry ourselves like this, see, it makes the police and everybody think twice about the way in which they're going to even approach us because they know that this is not something that they made.
That's right.
This is not part of their product line that they can vilify and that they can terrify and that they can use and abuse, you see? We're just not part of that production line. So they left us alone, man. We went about our business. So you need to think about that and understand
The power.
the power of having God with us.
That's right.
Let's carry on with this.
Have this on residential roads where people have to escape the neighborhood and board up their houses, where people who run businesses have to go into lockdown. They have to also put boards in front of anything that's glass because it's going to be graffitied on, it's going to be smashed, it's going to be urinated upon. If this was any other event, it would not be taking place in a residential area. But no, because it's Notting Hill Carnival, it would be way fit to move it. So whereas somewhere like Hyde Park could actually establish secure entrances and exits, you could actually force people to walk through a knife arch, have a ticket to attend, they could even charge for it.
Hear that? Hear the Democrat talking? You could actually force people to walk through a knife arch. You know, she needs to be forced to walk through a knife arch every day of her life. Every time she comes out of her house, the first thing that should be there should be a knife arch. Force you to walk through that. You see, because it's all about taking away people's dignity, you know? And like I said, I'm going to tell, well, I'll tell you now, you know, at a certain point in time while we were there in the carnival, a brother came up to us. He said he was 63 years old. He was very upset. He said, why didn't you lot come and help me? We said, well, what are you talking about, brother? He said, they just searched me coming through and forced me to go through the knife arch. We didn't see it. We were looking somewhere else when that must have been going on. But the brother was very upset. Then he said, and they've stolen £50 out of my wallet. This was a 63-year-old black man with a woman with him. And so we walked back with him up to the police and said, well, what's going on here? Because this brother said that you all forced him to go through this knife arch and then you searched him. And in the process of searching him, somebody's stolen £50 from his wallet. And then this police officer, so-called, you know, like one of the senior officers, piped up, police officers don't steal people's money. I said, I beg your pardon. I said, not only do you steal, but you rape, you murder. Have you not seen the convictions recently of those so-called metropolitan police officers who have raped and murdered people and have been found guilty of racism and misogyny and all kinds of heinous crimes? You should have seen the man. The man got so vexed, he got so angry. It was like a child had been told off, and I'm gonna put a dispersal order on you. You will have to leave immediately from the carnival. Man, I'll tell you, let me tell you something, family. We just carried on. Then this other one came like an inspector. His rank was inspector. His rank was below the one that had talked about putting some dispersal order. So now he jumped in and, you know, he was saying, look, you know, I'm sorry. Here the inspector, can we be friends? Can we be friends? You know, basically ignore what he's saying. And I said, listen, we've lived in this country all our lives, you see? We know you. We know what you've done. You understand what I'm saying? You can't put that small-time stuff over on us, talking to us like we're children. Policemen don't steal. And all these young black boys who are out there selling drugs, and the police stop them and steal the money, the drug money, and then send them on their way. This is commonplace. Everybody knows what goes on in the streets with these so-called law enforcement officers. See? So this guy was saying, yeah, well, you know, okay, but you know, it's not very nice. I said, listen, I don't care whether you find it nice, whether your feelings have been upset. The reality is the reality. So I don't want to hear nobody telling me no nonsense about policemen don't steal. You know, I'm not going to take that. So eventually, you know, they said to the brother had a piece of paper, a slip that they'd given him, the search record, and it had, we double checked to make sure that the police, at least one of them anyway, the main one who had searched him, that their details, their warrant number and their details was on the paper, because then the brother would have to follow up at a later stage now to find out what happened to his money, you see. But in the end, there wasn't a great deal else we could do other than to really get the brother away from there and away from them, because he was getting very, very irate. And the next thing you know, they would arrest the brother, you see. But this little devil who was talking about dispersing us from the carnival, he quickly disappeared. And we saw him later on walking. He looked like Squatch, the monster. There's Bigfoot. He just looked disgusting.
Like a mess.
Absolute mess. But he went about his business. And then after that, this inspector policeman, now every opportunity he had, he would come up to us to explain what they were doing and why they were doing it. And this is coming to the nation. And then almost immediately after we had gone to them to highlight this incident with our 63-year-old brother, they abandoned the knife arches. Yeah, they stopped. They said, "Oh, we're packing up now. We're packing it up now." I'm telling you the truth, family.
Well,
you see,
it goes with what Derek Dapp says. Yes, knife arches are not legally mandatory, and you can challenge it. Most people fold under the pressure. Unfortunately, you can actually take civil action against the police. Film your interaction.
Absolutely. And I felt that was the case, and I voiced it because, what is this? You're walking down a road and they put knife arches across the road, and then you've got to go through it. What are you talking about? Nonsense, But this is what we are dealing with, family. Let's listen a little bit more to some of this stuff here.
They could just have a free ticket to make sure that people are monitored.
It would get rid of the crazies, though. Be charged a bit.
But then you could easily have lots more food stalls, more stages, make it like a Glastonbury festival.
Yeah.
But no, they just want to completely ruin the neighborhood instead, because that's their God-given.
Derek Dapps is trying to help me. Sasquatch is the monster you are trying to reference, the Bigfoot type. Yeah, but as a Jamaican, I'm a struggle for you to use them word, Sasquatch. But that's what I was trying to say. You're absolutely right.
Hold on. Sorry to cut you. Stephen Blackett says, "Greetings, Brother Leo and Sister Claudia. I'm looking forward to seeing you both on September the 6th. My mum transitioned on August the 11th, 2024. I mentioned this on episode. I remember you speaking.
Okay.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you, inshallah.
Yes, and once again, our deepest condolence,
right.
dear brother.
Absolutely.
That's so your mum transitioned on my birthday.
That's right.
So Allah is God, beloved.
Yeah.
And remember, Allah is fair.
That's right.
Okay. On that day, it was your mum, and another day, it will be somebody else's mum, and all of our mums will eventually take their leave of us.
That's right.
But Allah is fair. Allah is God. Allah is love. And we just keep that mother. I sent my mum a copy of the track by Sizzler. Thank you, Mother, for the 9 months you carry me. And she sent me a message to say that she really enjoyed it.
That's beautiful.
But yeah, there's nothing like our mothers, dear family.
Absolutely.
And we must honor, love, and respect them always.
Hold on. And just to say, walaikum salam to you, Brother Elder Charles, checking in for the class, Brother Leo and Sister Claudia from Jacksonville, Florida.
Beautiful.
And Derek Dapp said, "This is the double edge of the carnival. How can there be a LGBT pride, but people want rid of the carnival? I'm against the behavior that it induces, but before that goes, LGBT pride needs to go." And Stephen Blackett also says, "Brother Leo, we met at an event and you gave a card of one of the brother's wife for me to receive bean pies. They are fabulous.
Oh,
Praise
wonderful.
be to Allah.
Yeah, man, that's the famous Nation of Islam
Yeah,
bean
bean
pie.
Okay, hold on a minute. And Johnny Mitchell, if we get our people to understand that they were lawful captives, maybe we'll understand we have to literally escape. The only history we have is an example example is the children of Israel looking for a Moses.
Absolutely. And that's who we are, family. We are the real children of Israel. And as our brother said, using the scripture, we are lawful captives. They have used law to justify evil behavior. They've put laws on the statute books that they deliberately use to break natural and God's law.
That's right.
Just think about that.
Yes.
Their law runs counter to the law of God, which is freedom, justice, and equality, regardless to creed or class or color. Every one of their laws, the way in which they enact them, they're designed to undermine freedom, justice, equality, and peace. Just think about these people.
So, and the last one, Derek Dapp says, Glasgow, that small footprint in the field is the culprit of immense drug taking and many sexual assaults. These people know this.
They know it. Of course they know it. They know it big time.
That's right.
But, you know, this is a smokescreen and a scapegoating of the carnival and Black people.
Born duty as some sort of vengeance against their white oppressors. But no, I mean, I don't go to it, but my other half's mother...
But you see what she just said? You see, the carnival, what we're really doing, we're taking vengeance against our white oppressors. See, they know.
That's how they think.
Yeah, that's how they think. They because of what they know they've done. That's a significant part of the hatred of anything that we have or anything that we do that they don't fully control and direct. You see? That's what they resent. The idea that Black people should have any kind of freedom that escapes their control. Wow.
In Notting Hill is doing her annual pilgrimage out to the West Country, so she is unaffected by it. And it's just not fair for other people who live there. Can you imagine anyone else in the country? You know, imagine your neighborhood, imagine your streets having just hullabaloo, mayhem, drug taking, open copulation and fornication, stabbings, murders, trampling. It just wouldn't ever be passable anywhere else.
Really?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so blind.
You see, the part that I agree with her is the open copulation and all of that kind of debauchery that, you know, really goes on in the carnival with some crazy people. And, you know, the level of nudity that is there. And, you know, just, it's like we've just lost all sense of shame. This is what's sad about it, you see? And of course, they can point to that and try to make out that they're all holy.
That's right.
You know, when in reality, there's nobody more filthy than these people, but behind closed doors. You see what they hide.
That's right.
But in reality, we can't take any condemnation from them because we know that this behavior that many of our people are now manifesting is learned behavior. This isn't our nature. This isn't our character as a people. The major problem with most of the discussions and arguments that are happening around the Notting Hill Carnival today is the lack of context in relation to the history between Black people, the racism factor, and the role of the police, who have always been at the center of the issues when it comes to the way we're falsely categorized. See, they falsely categorize us and then are over-policed and criminalized. The context is a Black community besieged by racist mob attacks, a biased white media, a colonial government with its colonial mentality, and a like-minded police force. See, you know, when I'm at the carnival, I'm looking around and it literally feels like being on in a Connolly, and the overseers are the police, and they're just making sure that the colonized, that the natives don't get too restless, and that we follow their guidance and their instructions, and we don't get too out of their control, you know? I mean, this image here, family, shows you the thinking of Black people back in the 50s when we were being mob attacked and murdered, coming up right into the 60s and the 70s. Look at what the signs say: murder in Notting Hill. This is the reality of that time that we were living in. The other sign says Black and white can unite together in harmony. See, that's what Black people were trying to achieve when they took to the streets. They weren't even thinking about separation. They weren't thinking about literally, you know, destroying anything or being violent or being crazy. They were pointing out the fact that we were a besieged people being murdered, and they were appealing to white people for harmony, for unity, for togetherness. See, and this is what we've always done as a people. This is what our motivation has always been. But we think that their motivation is the same. This is a mistake. Their motivation has never been to harmonize and unify with Black people as equals. That's never been a part of their mode of operation, you see? And this, in my humble opinion, is one of the greatest errors and mistakes that we make as a people, in thinking that that wish can ever be realized and can ever come about, when one person wants that, but the other person is the complete opposite. The other person just wants domination and control. That's what you got to understand. The other person is not viewing you as an equal. Dear family, the pioneers of the carnival naively thought that if they could reproduce some of the color and vibrancy of the Caribbean on the streets of Notting Hill, that this could end the mob attacks and police harassment and bring about racial harmony, where Black and white people could spend 2 days a year celebrating and being friendly towards each other. Sadly for those dreamers, that's not how the system of white supremacy deals with a people they deem to be unworthy of equal status in their society. That's not the way they're thinking about this. Dear family, this is the Notting Hill Carnival in 1973. This is while Black people were in control of it. This was the spirit and the motivation of Carnival when Black people took to the streets, starting in around 1966, all the way up to 1973. This is just to give you an example of the kind of mentality and the spirit that was accompanying Carnival. persuaded, loving African. People are much more comfortable, much more. It is much more culturally appropriate. Women there with their, children, mothers. Those costumes remind me a little bit of Junkie, so that Junkie. I didn't like it. And same thing for in Barbados and Dominica. The white people are there. What is this? Nice and calm and cool. Enemy is watching because we've taken the streets and we've said, look, every year we want to give a comfortable kind of feel, Caribbean type of feel, streets of West London, and they're watching. And it's colorful, it's beautiful. Look at the white man in the costume, dressed up. This is 1973. Right from day one, they were allowed to come in and participate and be a part of the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, you got to lift. Yeah, exactly. It's a very good rap music was Queen. That's when the brothers were selling the CDs out of their, or the tapes actually, the tapes out of the back of their cars, or the vinyl records out of the back of the boot of their cars. Clean lyrics, talking about what's been on in the days of Press One. Curfew, police could be seen. They were getting more involved. Because this could be allowed organically voting and that's what it was. It had to be intervention. It had to be intervention. Hope you're all good, family. I just really wanted to for a while because I think it's important. You hear the people applauding. You know what I mean? It was a very beautiful atmosphere and environment that's been created around Carnival. Yeah, those skirts are too big now. If you recognize the tune, that's played on steel pan. Family, because you're not technical. These these black people whose book it would have you believe, you see, that this is something violent, nasty from day one, you know, like we were just maniacal, like I said before, out of control people. We don't know how to behave when we're in a crowd. You know, we automatically have to just start raping, robbing, and stabbing people. And nothing. These black people, we know how to conduct ourselves. We know how to be civilized. We're the ones who made civilization. Derek, that the costumes are the mental image against terror. Costumes, they do look very much like African elements there, the Caribbean elements. Isn't it? Carnival, where all the islands, they will have their colors, they will have their flag. Carnival was always very Trinidadic. A lot of the people who pioneered Carnival were people from Trinidad, Tobago, and of course, making their role as well. So not in terms of pioneering Carnival, much more influenced by Trinidad, i.e. Lipso, look at he's having a field day among the black people. Yeah. And they probably just enjoy all the different sounds. I do apologize. I hope you got a good feel for how it was in 1973. But by the hot summer of 1976, the police had enough of the mostly joyful and peaceful carnival, and they wanted to spice things up a bit. So they flooded the crowds of revelers with uniformed and undercover police who set about the task of systematically stopping and searching every young black male that they saw. The attitude of the police was extremely aggressive and designed to antagonize and elicit a negative reaction, which inevitably happened, and then war broke out at the Notting Hill Carnival. This was a direct, deliberate, instigated situation in the summer of 1976 when
1990 says, can't hear you, Brother Leo.
When the carnival degenerated into, let me see what's happening. No, everything is good there.
Can anybody else not hear us?
Well, we're going to push on. Hope you can hear, family. But that was when the carnival degenerated into mayhem. This took place in 1976.
Okay, they can hear.
Okay.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, family.
Every year, this is being held. I'm not putting any sound on this because there's a song playing, copyright problems. I can do without it, to be honest with you. There are some captions. I'll stop and read the captions. But this was now 1976. Same spirit, same atmosphere, but a different reality because there were so many police. Okay, it was, I think, 1,600 police that they're drafted in for this particular carnival, and they were really making their presence felt. So it's in 1976, however, the festivities were interrupted on the last day. Young blacks harassed by a police numbering 1,600 police. By the way, at this year's carnival, there was over 7,000 police. Okay, over 7,000. So the black youth defended themselves against arbitrary police arrest. Black people just had enough. And I can tell you, 1973, you saw 74, 75, this was all building up. Each year of the carnival, the police were getting more and more. It became like, it felt like an occupation. There were just so many police, you couldn't move. And I was there in 75, and you literally felt like everywhere you went, you felt like you were being watched by groups of police. You see, and they just kept on picking up people, stopping people, searching people. And 1976 was the real culmination of all of that, when by that time the black youth had had enough. I wasn't there because I was locked up at that time in Borstal, having been framed under the sus law. So I was actually incarcerated at the time when this kicked off at the carnival in 1976. This is the police all piling out of their vans, and you see they're running there with shields and using anything that they could get their hands on to defend themselves against the rocks and the stones that the young people were hurling at them, because the people had had enough. The people, they turned over some of their vehicles, burnt them. You see they're taking away one of their injured colleagues there because the people fought back. The young blacks alleged that the police were there for the express purpose of terrorizing them. This is what the police were doing, and they provoked this incident. And I'm telling you, family, the large police presence was justified by shady allegations of mass outbreaks of petty crime by young blacks. Petty crime by young blacks. You know, I'd love to hear the classification of what the petty crimes were, but you are mass mobilizing police to go in and arrest black youth in a crowd that you say were committing petty crimes. What were these petty crimes that you felt it was necessary to then overcrowd the carnival with so many police that it would end up now turning into a war between police and black youth? But this is what unfolded, dear family. And from 1976 to the present day, the atmosphere of carnival has never, ever been the same. That's when all this violent stuff began. Over 300 police were injured, 35 police vehicles were damaged, burnt, several shops looted, and 60 people arrested. This was the start of the standoff and the antagonism between black people going to carnival and the police. You got to understand this, family. This has never, ever been fixed as a problem. And this is where so much of the current problems come from. It stems from that attack by the police in 1976, right up to the present day. And the spirit of rebellion has been passed down to the black youth, and the spirit of antagonism and hatred towards black people has been passed through the ranks of the police. You see? So this is what a lot of people don't necessarily appreciate and understand about some of the level of violence and intimidation that occurs at carnival. But this is the reality, dear brothers and sisters. I hope you are following this history and the reality of what really is going on and what has led to where we are today. Every year, police are drafted in from all over the country, many of whom are not used to working in a so-called urban environment. You know, when they use the term urban, they're talking about where black people are. Because, you know, sadly, we've allowed ourselves to be thus labeled, and we've now become the people of the concrete jungle. Yeah. When in reality, we're a people who come from rural and green environments and, you know, farms and, you know, natural elements, but now we've become urban dwellers. We've become the people of concrete and steel, which is just ridiculous. And this is again why we have to change the whole language and the whole ethos of how we allow ourselves to be described, misidentified as a people, mislabeled as a people, because we're just not that people. We're not some urban people, dear family. The so-called urban environment and among black people, and it quickly becomes obvious looking at all the different uniforms, they're talking about the police, all the different uniforms and surveillance equipment on display, that this is a yearly opportunity for the police to practice tag and release, like the great white hunters on safari. See, they stop black youth and they literally tag them. When they get their details, because they can't really deal effectively with so many people that they are tagging on the day, but they get their details so that they can follow up after Carnival, and some of these people will be getting called upon in the early hours of the morning, getting their doors kicked off, and some of them will be randomly arrested in the future because they've been tagged at the Carnival and released. I'm telling you, families, it is literally a safari park. And these guys are practicing hunting black people, okay? It's a tag and release system, like the great white hunters on safari, plus crowd control techniques. This is what they're also training and practicing at Carnival. Crowd control techniques. And of course, suspicious persons. This has never been taken off the statutes, despite campaigns to have it disbanded and stop being used. Sus is still being used, or the modern name for it, stop and search. See, you're being stopped and searched because we suspect that you may have this, or you may have that, or you may be this, or you may be that, but it's a suspicious motivation and without evidence of any crime. See, that's what stop and search is all about, dear brothers and sisters. And this is what they employ at the Carnival, as well as the tag and release and the crowd control. This is what the training day is all about. And they absolutely get as many police involved in this process as possible, so that they're literally training them as to how to really manage and control black people in particular, but people more generally.
Notting Hill Carnival 2025. Wild parties, hundreds of arrests, and a massive clean-up highlighting further safety concerns. This year, the carnival saw a huge police presence using live facial recognition, knife arches, and stop and search to target crime. In total, 423 people were arrested over 2 days, over 100 more than last year, with those facing charges from assault on police and possession of weapons to drug supply and robbery. 2 attendees were stabbed, but thankfully no life-threatening injuries were reported. Police have credited the proactive measures put in place for fewer serious incidents compared to previous years, but many still question the event's safety and the multi-million-pound policing costs. Assistant Met Commissioner Matt Ward said that this year the police proactively targeted those who have attempted to come to Carnival to harm others. We have used live facial recognition, knife arches, and our stop and search powers to identify and arrest more than 400 suspects. These
Eighth Electronic says probably paid agitators in the crowd. Make no mistake about it. They got people in the crowd, and they've got people who absolutely come there and create trouble and problems in order to have things kick off. Absolutely, those are the kind of things that go on in terms of having agent provocateurs that they send in. And there's also, a lot of undercover police and agents from the agencies like MI6 and MI5, and they're all there, family, because again, we don't really appreciate just how much of a target we are for disruption and for mayhem, so that we as a people can never ever come together and actually unite around core principles, you see, and really begin to do something exclusively for ourselves. They've got to keep us thinking that this is about everybody and not ever focus on our own self-improvement, our own self-development, our own community development, our own nation building. So, understand that there's a constant effort to keep us divided and ruled.
arches and our stop and search powers to identify and arrest more than 400 suspects. These arrests have prevented some of the serious violence we have seen at previous carnivals. We thank the organisers and the others who spoke out in the days and the weeks ahead of the event to emphasise what Carnival stands for, to reject violence, and to urge anyone planning to come for conflict or confrontation to stay at home. All of this joint effort has helped to make this year's Carnival a safer event for all. Former Police and Crime Commissioner Festus Akinbasoye told GB News that he doesn't understand how having a conversation about the future of the Carnival in its current form could be viewed as an issue by some.
Good morning, Festus. Always good to see you. Look, depending on how you view this event, it is either a massive success, which is culturally enriching and brings a huge amount of celebration to the area, and particularly I think it's the kids in the area. You see them all dressed up on the festival floats, or it is a violent, dangerous occasion which needs to be managed better. Where are you on that?
Well, I think any event where success is measured by whether somebody was killed or not.
Yes.
For me, it's probably not an event that should be continuing in its current form, when in fact the family of the lady that was killed last year, Cher Maximond, have now come out saying that even though they don't want to see the carnival cancelled, they do not believe that it is safe in its current format. And look, we've had about 100 more people arrested this year compared to last year. 46 of those or thereabouts were for possession of an offensive weapon, 18 for sexual offenses, and about 30-something for assaulting police officers. I just don't see how having a discussion about the continuation of the carnival in its current format should be a problem. Not even talk about the crowding issue.
Well, Festus, we're under pressure on time. How could you do it in a different form which would make it safer? Because I'm on the view that it's getting to the point where they should shut the wretched thing down.
Well, look, I think you've got to have a way of being able to monitor people who are there. So I think going to a ticketed, it could even be a free ticket, even though I don't think it should be entirely free, because the cost of it is spiraling out of control in many cases. So making it a ticketed event.
You see, the point is, family, that what Carnival was supposed to be, it no longer resembles anything like what it started out to be and should be. You see, so now they can talk about shutting it down. Now they can talk about making it a ticketed event. Now they can talk about moving it into Hyde Park. Now they can talk about, so many things which really, it should never have been allowed for them to be able to take ownership of something that began as a protest against murder and mob attacks and a desire to create harmony in the society, in the community. See, but once again, like everything else that we have ever had, it's been usurped, it's been taken over, it's been steered in a completely different direction to the direction that it should have gone in. And Carnival is not a black event. Carnival is owned now, lock, stock, and barrel by corporate Britain. It's a massive money-making enterprise. And if they eventually put it into some place where they can control everything even more in terms of entrances and exits and so on and so forth, and make it ticketed and paying and all this kind of stuff, I mean, you know, yeah, and no doubt our people will show up and pay through the nose and lose all semblance of what its original aim and purpose was.
Moving it from Notting Hill to somewhere else where you can actually monitor who is coming in and out. At the moment, you've got so many multiple points of entry and exit that it just creates a very difficult place for the police to be able to track and monitor and move people around. I think that is something that has to be looked into.
Okay.
Like the reason why Carnival started was to like protest against inequalities with race, and I feel like.
See, our sister is talking about the reason it started, and you know, inequality with race or whatever. But is she showing why it was started? Does her look send the appropriate signal as to what Carnival should be about? Or is it just about, you know, wearing sparkling stuff and costumes, revelry? You know, she's saying she's saying the right thing in terms of what it's supposed to be about, but you know, so often what we say and what we do is so contradictory, family.
The reason why Carnival started was to like protest against inequalities with race, and I feel like continuing to do Carnival every year just continues to like reinforce the importance of equality and just understanding everybody despite what background they're from. Again, as well for like the younger generation, it's so important for them to be learning like the reason like about Carnival. So I feel like.
Yeah, and who's teaching this younger generation about what it's really supposed to be about? You're not doing it, sister, I'm sorry to say, and nobody's doing it. You know, nobody's teaching that information, that reality of the history. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said history is best qualified to reward our research. But it's like that history has been thrown in the bin by most black people.
Background they're from. Again, as well for like the younger generation, it's so important for them to be learning like the reason like about Carnival. So I feel like obviously with the worries of like funding, and I'm worried myself whether it's going to go next year, and I just hope if it comes to it, like I think a lot of people will be happy to like contribute or just to keep it going.
As crowds dwindled and night fell, hundreds of cleaners moved in. This year, one of the biggest challenges was the sheer number of nitrous oxide canisters, also known as laughing gas, littering the streets. Possession of laughing gas was made illegal in November 2000.
Look at what this stuff does that people are sucking into their lungs, beloved. The risk of so-called laughing gas, headaches, dizziness, paranoia, confusion and disorientation, impaired memory, forgetfulness and blackouts, red eyes, heart attack, low blood pressure, fainting, blurred vision, frostbite, because yeah, this stuff is freezing, breathing difficulties, anemia. You know, imagine that's what they got our people, our young people, sucking this stuff through balloons into their lungs. And listen to the amount that was collected after the event.
This year, one of the biggest challenges was the sheer number of nitrous oxide canisters, also known as laughing gas, littering the streets. Possession of laughing gas was made illegal in November 2023. Dealers now face up to 14 years in prison, and repeat users can face up to 2 years. This didn't stop many from using the substance during this year's carnival. Cleanup crews filled industrial skips with 6 tons of silver cylinders, risking injury from contaminated pressurized canisters. Besides the nitro...
6 tons!
Ridiculous.
Oh, family. You know, do we understand what that means for our youth? How they're just being destroyed?
Oxide problem, crews face mountains of rubbish, plastic cups, bottles, and food waste, evidence of nearly 1 million participants. The work was urgent to restore neighbourhoods before businesses resumed on Tuesday morning. Despite their efforts, many locals say that the festival leaves streets and parks in a dire state and raises ongoing questions about sustainability and responsible partying.
Family? Yeah, she did sound like she had a Welsh accent. The Derek Dapps, he says, I'm surprised that the police don't use Section 60 over the carnival because that allows them to stop, search and question you without any probable cause. It's really dirty tactics of use. Well, just to let you know, brother, that's exactly what they do use. They use Section 60. It's Section 60 that is over the entire carnival, why they are able to do that level of stop and search. We learned this a couple of years ago when we was down there talking to them, and they said that Section 60, which has to be authorized by somebody at the level of inspector, is the powers that they use to conduct the stop and search all throughout the carnival. Dear family, we are getting there. Derek says, I was given laughing gas when I was in the hospital with a dislocated knee. That stuff is no joke and is an additive. It destroys your nerves and can make it that you lose the ability to walk. Wow. Absolutely, family. Dear family, the carnival routes and the direction of travel of the vast crowds of people who attend has been structured and engineered by the planners and, more importantly, by the police to make it as extremely difficult, dangerous, and uncomfortable experience that is a potential disaster waiting to happen. With the consumption of copious amounts of alcohol, smoke, and street food in the heat with the loud music and tight spaces, by the end of the day, many are left traumatized. This is the reality of carnival. Just look how tight when you get into the crowd. You know, we don't go into the crowds like this. We stay in one of the thoroughfares where people go in and out of the carnival. That's where we go as brothers. But one year we had to literally go into this crowd to go and rescue a couple of young people who got themselves stuck in there, and they were absolutely panicking and in fear of their lives. And we had to go in as brothers to go and take them out of there. And praise God, by the grace and mercy of Allah, we found them and we managed to get them out. But this is just how could you enjoy yourself being in a situation like this? There's some people there that are covered in paint. Other people that they're carrying their drinks. You've even got people in there. You've got people in there with friends. strangers, grinding up on each other, all kinds of lewd and vulgar behavior going on in crowds, people getting grabbed and broken and just, it's not a good look, family. It really isn't a good look. Imagine the perverts having a field day. Family, go ahead, Sister Claudia.
Pulwood Design says, you're absolutely right. I'm from Montreal, and Carnival in Canada is pure debauchery. Makes you feel unsafe as a female. And is it Haka? That's how depressing this society is. Even on celebration, a person needs laughing gas to laugh and be merry. Absolutely.
So we're coming towards the end, family. This is something that happened while we were in the carnival. This woman walked up to me and asked me a question. We're breaking down the movie Sinners.
What's your name?
My name is Leo Muhammad.
And how come you're here all dressed up with the same like clothing? Like, what are you doing at the carnival?
I mean, Carnival has got a very long history going back into the 60s when an individual black person was murdered. And it really began as a demonstration, as a protest against racism and police brutality and mob attacks and things of that nature. And over the years, it's been transformed into this kind of revelry and whatever. Yeah. It's now become a very money thing or whatever. And it's also a place where the police come on a yearly basis to practice crowd control and things of that nature, and try out their new weapons and whatever. So we come here just to really remind people of the soberness of Carnival and the reality of what it really ought to be about. And we try to promote some positivity that's going on in the community.
Yeah, that's
Hence,
amazing.
we're breaking down the movie Sinners. Next month, we're breaking it down in Harlesden, so that's what we're here publicizing today.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Where we can find you on social media?
I have a weekly show on YouTube called Image a Nation. Image a Nation. There you go, family. In the Nation of Islam, we go to the carnival to give a different look and to remind people that there is more to our lives than having a day off work to drink, smoke, and party, and that we have a family, community, and nation to build. So if we are ever to be truly free, equal to other people, and justified, then in this mission, we are duty-bound, family, duty-bound. This is the reality of why we go to that place. And just to prove that we're not just jumping on the Notting Hill Carnival bandwagon because it's in the news, this is how we were dealing with the subject way back between 1991 and 1993 on the 291 Club on Channel 4 TV, informing the audience while doing a form of stand-up comedy called Edutainment.
Where were you in August? Yeah, I thought so. I remember where I was in August, bank holiday weekend, just gone. I was at the annual Notting Hill Police Convention. Some of you don't know what I'm talking about. It used to be called the Notting Hill Carnival. And then them take it over. They took it over in 1976. You remember when they attacked us with dustbin lids? In order to demonstrate to the British government that all them offer fight black people is rubbish. And at the last carnival, man, they were showing off all their wares, you know? It was proper, like a fashion show. The new riot shield that them wear under them clothes. But them look like hunchback. And there were so many, I mean, police, man. You know, okay, all right, maybe you think, some of you think, yeah, you get a bit carried away, Leo. There was some black people there. There was at least enough to full a jumbo jet. And then we was just playing Spot the Black Man. Place is just crazy, man. Taken over by white people now, the carnival. Taken over by white people. All the music funny. I'm telling you, I heard Status Quo, Deep Purple, Shabba and Buju can't get a look in.
Yeah, that's how we were doing it, brothers and sisters, in 1991, 1993. We were doing the 291 Club. Dear family, the takeover of the Notting Hill Carnival has been on my mind for so long that I even wrote a sketch for the BBC Real McCoy series, again back in the early 90s, where only 2 black people are left at the carnival, surrounded by the police and being encouraged to keep moving and dancing. It's an exaggeration of the plantation overseer situation that the carnival has become, but using humor, I was trying to make a strong point. This was back in the early 90s.
I tell you something, Carnival isn't what it used to be, is it? I said Carnival isn't what it used to be, is it?
You're telling me?
Come on, keep on moving. And then enjoy yourself. Smile, come on.
Yeah, family, we have to laugh, but at the end of the day, it's some serious business. And so, in closing, the headline that accompanied the picture that's about to come up in Esquire magazine said, "The best street style from Notting Hill Carnival 2025. Then the article goes on to quote someone as saying, "The best thing for me is the freedom, the emancipation. It's the only day, especially in London, where no matter your background, everyone comes together." All I'm saying, family, is that, you know, they just love to see us in the little costumes and the little shorts, and, you know, we may have big muscles or whatever, but at the end of the day, this is how they like to see black people dancing, prancing around, half naked, and this is what, you know, fits their stereotype. And as long as we continue to just play into that look and that stereotype, we're not going to be a free people. We're not going to be justified, and we certainly are not going to be classified as equal among men. And so, dear family, that's what we wanted to share with you this evening. We pray that Allah will bless each and every one of us with the light of understanding, you know, because the scripture is clear. My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge, you see, and the knowledge that we need today is the knowledge of self and the knowledge of others, the knowledge of God. We need to know our enemy, you see, so that we don't keep falling for this hype that makes us to think that we are all one and the same. Remember, cinema or the movies is an extremely powerful medium for the conveying of ideas and concepts, the promotion of culture and the many and various forms of human and animal life in existence on our planet, as well as a great form of entertainment through audio and visual stimulus. For this reason, it is a great exercise to look deep beneath the surface of this fascinating medium called film, and to search and critique and analyze the words and images for any hidden meaning they may contain that might enlighten us at a more profound level.
The devil.
In Hollywood, are we as good or bad as white filmmakers? Do we need a cultural revolution in our audio and visual arts? What hidden messages does the movie Sinners send about our past, our present, and even the future? All these questions and much more will be addressed by me, Brother Leo Muhammad, at a live and in-person movie breakdown, starting at 6 p.m. sharp on Saturday, the 6th of September, 2025, at the Tavistock Hall, High Street, Harlesden, NW10 4NE. There'll be a £5 donation at the door. Family, be careful who you open your door to. Thank you.
Thank you. Praise be to Allah.
Dear family, Sister Claudia.
Thank you very much, Brother
Over
Leo.
to you.
Praise be to Allah. Ronald Thompson, that is something that we are going to look into, having it on Zoom for our family here, the breakdown.
Yes, we are looking into that.
You're going to have to come on Zoom. We can't do it on YouTube.
Yeah, we can't do it on YouTube.
So
it'll be, if anything, it'll be live on Zoom.
Yes.
Inshallah.
Yes, inshallah. So, family, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the Final Call newspaper. That newspaper, I tell you, as I said, that newspaper is unbought and uncompromised. If you want to read the truth and really know what's going on in this world, subscribe to the Final Call newspaper. And the title of this is What You See Over There is Being Planned Over
Here.
The Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan, a voice of divine guidance, backed by Allah God and his Christ, has warned that the troubles and events happening abroad will soon be unfolding in America.
That's right. Soon be at your and my door.
Absolutely. Just like how COVID, when it was in China, and then it just came. Yes, so don't forget. And don't forget to tune in to the Final Call Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Feed your mind the truth. So inspiring. The more you feed your mind on truth, the closer we get to Allah. The more we feed our mind on filth, the closer we're getting to Satan. So it's as simple as that, to keep feeding, and you'll feel yourself growing. So don't forget, tune into the Final Call Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And also, don't forget, log on to NOI.org every Sunday to watch the Sunday lectures by our student minister, Ismail Muhammad, or any of the student ministers in the Nation of Islam. So thank you once again for tuning in. I pray Allah will guide, bless, and protect you all. Thank you so much for taking the time to make a comment. And thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us. We really appreciate it. And we read all your comments. May Allah, God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, beloved. Take care, family. Inshallah, for Allah, spare alive. We'll be back here next week, same time, same place. Inshallah.